Hello, happy Wednesday. How are you? You always catch me when I want to take a sip of my tea. Anyways, how's life treating you? And how are you treating life back? Because that's probably a lot of reason why life's treating you the way it's treating you is because it's the cause and effect happening. It's a law. Anyways, I'm not here to preach about the laws. That's another lesson, another time. But we are going to dive right back into My Father Knew This Secret. We are on page 101. And I'm not even going to set my timer. I pretty much know how much a 30-minute reading sounds like. And I like to start off, this is like just so profound for me, with the top of 101 says, getting unstuck. Quote, you are the only problem you will ever have, and you are the only solution. Unquote, Bob Proctor. Why this is profound is because that is exactly what Bob Proctor said from stage in St. Cloud, Minnesota, at an event called Iconic, which I had gone there for. I was curious. I was curious about the woman that was hosting that event. I was curious about her character. I wanted to be more like her. I liked how she thought, how she acted, how she ran her business. And that's what I thought I was pursuing. But in actuality, what ended up happening is it was Bob Proctor, her mentor, that she had hired to speak from stage. He did, and he spoke straight to me, and that was the first thing that he said. And it just hit me like a ton of bricks because I was so busy reacting to my outside world, thinking, poor me, playing the victim card. Why is this happening to poor me? Yeah, suck it up. It's not happening to you, it's happening for you. And once I realized that and that I was responsible, oh my gosh, game changer. Now let's read the book. Recognize that everything is temporary, including feeling stuck. If you are not where you want to be in life, it is you that must decide to do something about it. Nothing is achieved without effort. And the best part is that when you decide and start taking action, it won't be long before you begin to see things differently. Making that decision is the hard part. Once that's done, your mind will become laser focused and you will make moves with intention. Sometimes during a seminar, we would bring in guests and entertainment. One time in Los Angeles, we brought in comedian and transformational speaker Kyle Cease. Kyle said something from stage that stuck with all of us. When wrestling with a decision, you can only measure what you are giving up. You cannot measure what you will gain. That's very interesting. Unfortunately, that unknown is what keeps us stuck where we are, even if we're unhappy. Staying stuck means we know what to expect. So we stay there because change can feel scary and we cannot measure the gain of what the change could bring. Whenever I was struggling, Dad would start asking me questions. Brian, what are your limiting beliefs about this? Why are you holding on to those beliefs? And what can you do to change them? Those questions would get me thinking. Dad knew that he needed to get me to examine my thinking and that if he could push me to face what was holding me back, I would be able to do the work to make a change that was necessary for me to reach my next level. One of these conversations with my father happened because of the resistance I felt about getting on stage at our events. I knew I had a message I could share, but I always got so nervous before I went up that I often felt that the message I was sharing was unclear due to my nervousness. Each morning, while on the road for an event and before the day got rolling, Dad and I would enjoy an early morning cup of coffee together in his hotel room. That was a special time for both of us. During one of those mornings, I brought up my anxiousness about going on stage that afternoon. I could feel myself stuck in a loop of fear. Dad looked me in the eyes and said two things to me that made all the difference. First and foremost, he said, it is none of your business what those people think of you. I have heard him say that many times in many situations, but applying it to myself in that scenario gave it new meaning. However, it was the next thing that he said that got me unstuck. He said, if you are nervous on stage, the mistake you're making is that you're thinking about yourself rather than the value of what you have to share with the audience. Everything will change if you take the focus off yourself and instead focus on serving. He coached me to engage with the group as if I was having a relaxed conversation with a friend. Then he said, Brian, you have no idea how what you have to share could impact even one person. That is why we are here. That is why we share our knowledge and experiences. It is why we share our stories. It is so others can gain. Focus outward and focus on adding value. That conversation got me unstuck. I've never been afraid again when speaking in front of an audience. If I ever hesitate, I take a deep breath, narrow my focus to the people in front of me, and think back to that conversation with Dad in his hotel room, and then I speak from my heart. An exercise that has helped me when I feel anxious is to bring myself fully into the present moment. Our mind causes us all kinds of suffering. When stressed or anxious, we are either living in the past or building a picture of a dire future. I have trained myself to shift my thoughts with intention to what I can do right here, right now, to make this moment better. I ask myself, how can I contribute? Then I push myself to participate and to show up. Get excited about what is next for you and be excited about today. These actions will help you get unstuck. Consider, how do you weaken limiting beliefs? You, you replace them with a new belief. Most of the time, we are unaware of our limiting beliefs. We don't even consider that our thoughts and beliefs could be what is holding us back. So, to create meaningful change, we must examine our beliefs on money, love, relationships, work, business, etc. And we need to examine them often. As you gain an understanding of what they are, write them out. Then begin doing the work to alter those limitations by directing your thoughts to create something different. Write their polar opposite. There's meaning to this. It's the law of polarity. When you're working with the laws of the universe, things work. When you work with the laws of man, things don't work all the time. Doing this work could change a pattern that has existed for generations within your family. You can end those patterns by changing a belief that is possibly holding you and others back. It is also important to figure out what old wounds you're hanging on to and why you're holding on to them. What triggers those memories? Those wounds that can become a part of our belief system, and hanging on to them could be a coping mechanism to avoid being accountable for certain circumstances. When you shine a light on that realization, you can begin the work of healing. Try this exercise. Close your eyes and think about what you really want. How does that make you feel? Can you see yourself achieving it? Does a limiting belief start to show itself? In these moments of looking at what you want, identify your limiting beliefs by paying attention to the thoughts that interfere with your desire. It will appear as a, I can't do that because, or what do you think, who do you think you are that you could be or do have that? Those are all limiting beliefs. Don't beat yourself up for having those thoughts, or if those thoughts return. You're not responsible for the limiting beliefs you've acquired before today. However, you are responsible for changing them. So instead of being frustrated with yourself, simply stand in awareness and focus on replacing them with thoughts that support your desire. Focus on strengthening your mind by being prepared with supportive self-affirmations when limiting thoughts arise. Change your channel and make the new channel stronger by spending more time there. Give your new channel, your new way of thinking, the loudest voice in your head. Chapter 7, Making an Impression. Creating paradigms that stick. Quote, "We come this way but once. We can either tiptoe through life and hope that we get to death without being too badly bruised, or we can live a life full, achieving our goals and realizing our wildest dreams." Bob Proctor. As I mentioned earlier, when someone learns that Bob Proctor is my father, they typically ask, "What was it like to be Bob Proctor's son?" The following story is a glimpse of my answer from my viewpoint as a young child. I often share this story because of its incredible impact on me as a young boy and how the memory still affects me this day. It is the story of a simple act, a bedtime ritual Dad created. Every night, when Dad was not traveling, he would be the one who tucked me into bed. When he did, he had a particular way of ending my day, a practice that ensured that I would feel special, loved, seen, and heard when I closed my eyes at night. He would sit on the edge of the bed and put his hand on my chest. Then he would softly speak encouraging words about what a great life I lived and what a great person I was. He would say things that showed me that he saw who I was and how I treated myself and others. Sometimes he would reinforce something that he observed in me or something happening in my life at the time and help me to see the good in it, even if it was something that I thought was bad. He taught me at a young age that there is good in everything. He was helping me to choose beliefs and showing me how to align them with habits that would serve me. And through this exercise, he was teaching me to plant ideas into my subconscious mind. Dad would genuinely listen when I spoke, always being patient. I realize now that with this practice, he made me feel comfortable and loved, so I could let myself be vulnerable with sharing my thoughts. He also taught me how to reflect and examine, to question and identify gaps between what I was saying and my behavior. I'm going to read that again because it's something worth writing down for yourself. Reflect and examine, to question and identify gaps between what I was saying and my behavior. What's in that gap? Why are you saying something but perhaps not doing it? It's the limiting beliefs. When he did this, he always spoke gently and with his hand on my chest to keep physical contact as we spoke. Then, just before leaving the room and saying goodnight, he would say, "Brian, you are capable of being, doing, and having anything you desire. When you wake up in the morning, you will feel wonderful and have a big smile on your face." I continue this bedtime practice with my children. When they were young, I called it a dream pact. It was a way to imprint positive statements and mirror beliefs or behaviors that would help them grow into confident and healthy adults. At bedtime, I would sit with my kids and create stories with positive images where they would be the hero. I would weave messages of strength into their heart and mind to instill them that they were in charge and control of their lives. We would also talk about their day, and I would point out all the good and show them how they made a difference. These ideas would help them fall asleep feeling confident, capable, and smiling. My relationship with my children has always been loving and honest. in my mind, we seldom had trying times. They have always been self aware, loving people, and I am proud of them. Growing up with Bob Proctor as my father and mentor set the stage for that. This bedtime ritual he created would be an excellent example of environmental conditioning that has now been passed down as a positive paradigm to 3 generations. Dad's example, oopsie, one second, I let it flip on me. I really let it flip on me. Dad's example helped me to raise the next generation with love, kindness, and understanding. And now, as my children start their own families, I watch how they treat their kids. I know Dad did not grow up with this in his life as a young boy, but in creating this exercise, he established the foundation of love and trust that has bonded 3 and now 4 generations together. And it all started with what I'm sure he saw as a simple act of kindness. The most minor things in life can often be the most meaningful and can become the greatest source of happiness through our entire lives. This practice my father created is such a part of my subconscious that even now, decades later, when I lay down to sleep, I can feel my hand on his hand, on my chest, guiding me to be, do, and have whatever my heart desires. The memory instantly puts me in a place of gratitude. I love this quote from Maya Angelou and think of it often when talking to people. It reminds me to conduct myself in a way that I will be a good person who is remembered for making others feel good. Quote, I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. End quote. And it is never too late to be that person. It always begins with ourselves. Top of page 113. Consider, what sort of behavior do you model to those close to you and to the world? If you are a parent, consider what you teach your children through your words, feelings, thoughts, and ultimately your actions. We know kids learn from what they see, experience, and feel. And the memories that take root when we are young are strong. They are the ones we don't forget. And they either support us or we spend our lives trying to forget them in order to reshape our future. But whether we like it or not, they do create a foundation. Every day is a new opportunity. If you have an opportunity right now to create generational change for the better by establishing new paradigms that will be passed down. Paradigms that result in confidence and feelings of self-worth. Whether your children are young or already adults, it's never too late to step into your power of influence. Top of page 116, road trips. Look at that car. Isn't that awesome? In 1976, Cadillac was producing its last convertible. It was a beautiful, heart-stopping Eldorado, and Bob Proctor wanted that car. Dad talked endlessly about how it would feel to drive in it with the top down, and he could see himself in the driver's seat. I vividly remember the day he drove that car into our driveway. The car seemed to glide with its shiny white exterior and tan, ultra soft leather interior. It was enormous. Even for the days of the giant gas guzzlers, this model seemed to command space around it. To my young eyes, it seemed to take up our entire driveway. This memory of my father bringing home that car is easy for me to recall when I close my eyes. I can feel how the son felt that day, and I can vividly see the pride and joy that was emanating from Dad as he explained the features and fine details to us kids. Even the neighbors showed up to look when they walked by. To us, the car looked and felt magical. There is a picture on the wall downstairs at my father's home. It is a family photo taken somewhere in the middle of the desert in the southwest part of the United States. You can see the wind blowing and the harshness of the environment in our hair. The picture is from a road trip in that car of a special time that left a significant impression on my young heart and soul. It was not long after Dad got that car that he took my siblings and me on that cross country road trip where that picture was taken. We drove from Toronto, Canada to Los Angeles. It was the summer of 1977. I was 15, my sister Colleen was 13, and my brother Raymond was 11. It's a trip we will still reminisce about today. It is also the trip where I learned what it meant to be living in the joy of the moment. I'm not sure how many days that drive took, but I do remember the fun we had on this journey. This trip was about something other than getting to Los Angeles as fast as possible. It was about enjoying the drive and experiencing different things along the way. This trip became the metaphor in my life for enjoying the journey. During this road trip, if any of us wanted to stop for any reason, we stopped. We stopped frequently and randomly, as if we had all the time in the world, not in a hurry to get anywhere. We would pull over to try fishing in a river or look at an interesting rock formation. We would explore small towns or check out the local diner. We even attended a parade in Kansas that was reenacting the outlaw Dalton Brothers gang. We also stopped to see Arizona's petrified forest and meteor crater. I remember staying in a small hotel just because they had a pool out front that we wanted to swim in. All as we drove across the desert with the rooftop down, wind whipping through our hair. What I also remember most is the big belly laughter from all of us and the energy of joy that filled that car. Dad was all about discovering. He taught us to have that same sense of curiosity and wonder and made us feel like our thoughts were valued by listening and acting on our ideas. He made the time to include us in the decision making of our journey, showing us our desires mattered. Once I had kids, I would take them on weekend trips. I made sure that they felt valued the same way by including them in the decision making. I would let them pick the plane, and we stayed open to the unexpected and possibilities. We would explore and discover together without an agenda, and most importantly, we would spend time together. This intentional way of being with Danny and Leanne was because of the effort that the vacations, short trips, and meetings out of town with my father had on me throughout my life. To this day, my kids remember those adventures. Those times helped me shape our relationship and played a part in who they are today. It will be fun for me to hear the stories they tell me about their kids and their memorable adventures together. Consider, what does it mean to be in the moment? Stay present, especially with your loved ones. Connect with them. Connect with other humans. Pause and feel grateful for that connection. Put away your cell phone. Make eye contact. Enjoy face to face time with the people in your life. Ask how the other person's doing. Listen. Hug them. Be present. Take care of yourself. You are worth it. What can you do to build lasting connections? Share experiences and history built with intention is a big part of what brings people close, especially as time passes and our lives go in different directions. These shared experiences make us feel more connected. Choose to add value to people's lives. It can be as simple as active listening. Meaningful connection with others deepens our own sense of self-worth and purpose. What steps can you take to connect with someone today? And again, as all chapters, they have area to take notes, jot down some notes. That's on page 120. Moving on to page 122. You know, even though there was a wide gap between our age, Bob Proctor and I have so much in common, which would it would make sense why we connected the way we did in so many ways. In so many ways. I wished I would have been able to get to know him more personal. I'm sure many people in this world would, but there was just something that him and I shared far beyond just kind of seeing eye to eye. Do you know what I mean? When you make a connection with somebody on a level that is personal and you don't even know them, it's kind of cool. Anyway, I had that with Bob Proctor. And here was another reason why. Page 122, Dancing with This Lady. It's called My Grandmother. Quote, mothers are the most important people in the world. They give us life, and for that alone we should be grateful. End quote, Bob Proctor. For as long as I can remember, I watched Dad take care of his mother in a way that her needs and happiness lived at the forefront of his mind. He did whatever he could to improve her life, and he understood how important it was to spend time with her, not just for her, but also for him. Along with his siblings, Helen and Al, they would plan trips and outings that included her, which were sure to delight her. Watching how Dad cared for his mother and paying attention to how he spoke to and about her influenced how I came to treat my own mother and both my grandmothers. It was at the age of 55 that my grandmother, known to all the grandkids and great grandkids as Nan, decided to spend her winters in Florida. She bought a lovely home and would spend 6 months of the year there right up until the time she passed away in her 90s. Dad was so happy to see her living the life she wanted. One year, he bought her a car so she could get around and he could rest easy, knowing she had something safe to drive in. When I was younger, he would send me to Florida to be with her for the drive back to Toronto. Those road trips with Nan are some of the favorite memories when I think of her today. Nan was fun and curious like Dad. She had a natural sense of wonder. She made friends wherever she went. Hooters was one of her favorite places to stop and eat during those drives between Florida and Toronto. She knew where every one of those restaurants were along the route. Learning this about Nan makes people laugh, but she loved the chicken wings so much that she could get a vegetarian excited about those wings with her passionate and descriptive details of the flavor and the happiness that eating them brought her. Nan was born in the month of February, and every year Dad made it a point to make her birthday a big celebration. She was always in Florida that month, so that is where we celebrated. Dad made sure she had a party that included many friends she had made there, and he always encouraged her to invite everyone. Then he took care of all the details. Transportation, food, drink, entertainment, whatever was needed. One night, Nan's list of guests was so extensive, Dad had to change the venue and rent a bus. At this stage in life, Nan and her guests were well into their 80s. On his birthday, on this birthday, the bus took the group into Tampa to a nice restaurant for a private dinner. The liquor bill ended up being higher than the food bill. Linda remembers the bus being very rowdy on the way to the party and very quiet on the way back because all the guests were asleep. We still laugh about that birthday trip. I don't ever remember seeing Nan without a smile on her face. She was a remarkable woman and deeply loved by her family. My father didn't just treat Nan that way. He made sure all his family felt important. He could be as simple as it could be as simple as a kind word or making time for a private conversation. He made certain that he was consistently available and generous. He regularly expressed gratitude for all of us that were in his life. And because gratitude operates on a higher frequency than anger or disappointment, living that way, living the way Dad did, created calm around him. Consider Keep your promises and live generously with your time, energy, and money. Dad taught me that relationships are not perfect, but if you strive to be the best version of yourself, you will see and harvest the good of what is. Go the extra step to mend and heal your relationships if that's what's needed. Assume the best in all those around you. Do this by checking in with your attitude. Suspend any negative thoughts or disbeliefs you have that are based on past experiences. In the long run, you will be the benefactor of your efforts because how you treat others reflects how you feel inside. You will never regret being the one people respect and can count on. And you will never regret the freedom that comes from practicing non-judgment. So with that, it is 12:31. Another space for notes on page 126. And we will start off on, it's today Wednesday, we'll start off on Monday on page 128 where there's clouds and it says clouds. So until then, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate everyone that does tune in and sends me the odd message and appreciates this. It's a win-win. I win by reading to you, and I hope that it benefits those who listen. We'll talk to you again. See ya. Have a wonderful weekend.